within a few years, I realized that there's easier ways to make a living. And I remember sitting at my pizza shop one day, and I was sitting there at the front counter, looking out the window, watching people walk by, doing their lives, and it just popped in my head. I was like, I got to get out of this business. I got to do something else. And I got up to where I was consistently in the top 3, top 5. And that was all because it wasn't because I'm super smart or super whatever, just because I was freaking terrified, right? So that's
my last chance. I have to succeed.
This is it. The one complaint I hear consistently from people is they just didn't do what they said they're going to. They said this and they did the opposite. They didn't. So I think that it really erodes trust in clients, and so they can't have a good experience if they don't trust you, and if you're not doing what you said you're going to do. We go to office, we go to shopping malls. None of those are personal, right? Even hotels aren't really personal. But where you call home, that's very personal. The why I do business is I think this segment should have somebody in it that's creating or building houses for people, and when they get to the end of it, they said they had fun.
Hey friends, welcome back for another episode of the Your Project Shepherd podcast. This is our second episode of 2026, and this is my second episode with my good friend Chris Ferqueron from Coast to Custom Homes. So welcome back, Chris.
Thank you.
So in our last episode, we talked about the California wildfires. We had some back and forth, some planning time before that one, and you kind of knew it was coming, but this time, this one's unplanned beyond my kind of little outline that I have here on the iPad.
I'm waiting with bated breath.
So you're just have to wait. That's the beer. That's not.
Yes. Yes.
So this is a special episode for me because I kind of want to take time to reflect and get a little mushy. Think back on our friendship and our journey together. We went from flipping $5 pizzas to building $5 million houses.
Yes.
Over the last 28 years or whatever that is, right?
Yeah.
So I didn't give a bio for you in our last episode.
Okay.
Because I figured this time we would kind of do a deep dive. So if somebody really wanted to know the real Chris Ferqueron, they could just watch this one.
Right. All right.
So, give us kind of the Chris Ferqueron history up until you and I met. Like, where'd you grew up? Where'd you go to school? What'd you think you were going to do with your life? All that kind of stuff.
Oh, that's good. All right. Grew up in St. Petersburg, Florida. Went to the University of Florida for college in advertising, actually, not in construction. Everybody goes to college. Hardly anybody works in their field after that. So I went for advertising, thought I was going to be a copywriter, and I found out there's not as much money in that as I wanted in my life. So thought I had to, when I was in college, I worked for a pizza company, pizza shop, and at the time I thought this guy was the entrepreneur of the year, right? He was a super smart guy. He was in Gainesville, had 3 stores in Gainesville, and I worked for him as a driver. So when I got out of school, I thought I would get into the pizza business. I got into copywriting and advertising, and quickly realized I didn't want to be in that. So I went back to him and asked him if he could help me get in the pizza business. So whole life in Florida, and then I decided after college for the pizza business, I'd go to North Carolina and do that, and that's where I met you.
Did you do some market research and you're like, hey,
yeah,
this college town in North Carolina is a good spot?
Yeah. So I did a lot of market research, and one of the deals with this guy to help me was he's like, I will help you, but you can't do a pizza shop in anywhere that I have a pizza shop, which at the time was Tampa Bay, which where I lived then, Gainesville, and Tallahassee. So he said, just pick another. He goes, I would give you advice, pick a college town. College towns are the best for pizza businesses. And so I looked around the Southeast. I didn't want to live in Athens, Georgia, because I don't like Georgia. I like the state of Georgia. I don't like the college team of Georgia. So
you're a Gator, and
I'm a Gator, and they're not. So yeah. I'm not going to go to Athens. There's Lexington, Kentucky. There's but what I liked about Chapel Hill was it's part of the Research Triangle, and there was Chapel Hill, there's Duke in Durham, which is 15 miles away, and there's NC State. So I thought I focused on that area because I thought I could do 3 pizza shops within a 30-minute drive of each other and open my empire there, right? So I started doing did a deep dive into Chapel Hill specifically, because to me that was the most quaint town. It was really a quintessential college town. That's where I wanted to live. So I did the deep dive there, and I realized the pizza business, the segment of pizza was growing faster than the national average, but was underserved in that town, right?
Yep.
So I said that pinpointed that's the spot. So I went up there, did a few trips, two or three trips up there to see what the lay of the land, and figured that's the spot. That was the first one.
And we were talking a while ago about how I was managing a Papa John's pizza.
Yeah.
There on campus.
Yeah.
And you walked in the door one day and applied for a job. Of course, you had motives that you were going to open your own. So you were doing market research, or you're doing some snooping.
Yes, I figured the best way to learn the town is to work for a pizza business in town. So I walked in, and you and I met, and I asked you for a job, and you said yeah.
Was that like 97 or 98? 98. Yeah. Cool. So I'll pause there and I'll kind of catch up because I want this all to kind of about how you and I kind of had parallel paths through life.
Yeah.
So I was born here in Houston, but when I was, I always get this wrong, 8 or 10 years old, we moved to North Carolina for my dad's job. And, I went to UNC Chapel Hill, there in Chapel Hill, North Carolina. I was studying music. I thought originally I was going to be a music major or a musician or a band director or something like that. And then I started delivering pizza like any good musician does to make money, because you can't make any money playing music.
Right.
So I started delivering pizza and kind of worked up the ranks to assistant manager, store manager. And then I managed a couple stores like regionally in that area, and that's where I met you.
Yeah.
So you, after you snooped around for a while, started the Firehouse Pizza there in Chapel Hill. I worked for you, and it was going really good there at first.
Yeah, it was good. It was good, and we thought we were going to be the next Papa John's, right?
Yes. And so how long, I'm trying to think back to like how long we did that. I think the store was open for probably about a year before I moved, maybe not even a year before I moved to Houston.
Yeah, it was about a year.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was trying to remember. Yeah, it was about a year.
So I moved on to Houston, and I said, "Hey, Chris, I want to open a Firehouse Pizza in Houston." And actually, my original goal was to do it by Rice University, because I had the same kind of thought. Or maybe you told me, hey, you should keep this near a college campus. And I said, well, Rice University is a big college, it'd be a great spot to do it. Ended up not being close to Rice, ended up being about 15 minutes away. But moved to Houston, started about the same time. And then at the same time, your dad opened one in Blacksburg, Virginia.
Yeah.
Another college campus.
Virginia Tech.
So instantly we had like the national pizza chain empire that we'd always dreamed of there.
Yes. Just not the income.
Right. Okay. So continue on with your story a little bit. Like why did you decide to get out of the restaurant business, and what'd you do next?
So the hardest part about the restaurant business for me was, especially a pizza shop in a college town, was you remember we were open from about 11 a.m. to 3 or 4 a.m. 7 days a week.
Yep.
And so that business never shuts off, right? It is even when you think you're going to take a breather and go out to get some dinner or go out and grab a beer after work, wherever, the store is still open, right? And it's the printer breaks, or somebody doesn't show up, or the oven breaks, or something happens, right? And so you never take your foot off the gas. Even when I'd go home and go to sleep, I'd work till maybe 1 o'clock in the morning, and come home. I remember sitting on my couch eating some food before I went to bed, and many times it'd be 1 or 2 o'clock in the morning. Then I'd get a call. I have to go back, and then once you go back, then you're there till 5 in the morning. You got to be back the next morning at 10 a.m. to do prep to get it going again. And other guys that have like investors, I you and I both want to do it. No investors. We got our skin in the game. We got our money in the game, and it's just us. Other guys do it, and they hire people to do that. and then they take a step back and they're running the ship that way. But you and I were both owner operators.
Mm-hmm.
So I quickly realized, not quickly, but within a few years, I realized that there's easier ways to make a living. And I remember sitting at my pizza shop one day, and this is actually an interesting story. I was sitting at my pizza shop one day, and I was sitting there at the front counter, looking out the window, watching people walk by, doing their lives, and it just popped in my head. I was like, I got to get out of this business. I got to do something else that's a little more conducive to, I mean, just being a man, being a family man, whatever, right? So I was like, I got to sell this place. And I had a stool with wheels on it, and I rolled over to my computer, and I just typed in, it wasn't Google then, it was, I think, Netscape or whatever, right? Whatever. And I typed in, how do you sell a pizza shop? And the very first thing that popped up was eBay. And I said, can you put a business on eBay? And there was other people that had businesses on eBay.
Mm-hmm.
And back then, eBay was more of the auction site, right? And so I walked around with a digital camera. It was before camera phones and all. I walked around with a digital camera, took pictures, and uploaded these pictures to eBay, and I listed my business on eBay. And within about 3 days, somebody calls me, a guy much older than me. He was in his 60s, calls me up. He says, hey, I own 50 stores of his brand up in Virginia Beach, I think it was. And he wanted to expand down, and kind of the same idea I had, expand down into college towns. So he came in and he looked at my business. He said, you got a good business going. Why do you want out? I was like, I'm just tired. I just want something else in my life. And he made me an offer that night for the business. And he says, just let the eBay auction expire, and we'll do that. We'll do it, So he made me an offer. I countered. He said no. I took his offer, right? Because I wanted out. And he said, all right, get a contract drawn up and bring me a contract the next day almost, right? The very next day at his hotel. And I met him at a Waffle House outside his hotel at like 11 o'clock at night. And I remember him looking through the contract, and he signs it, and he sends it back to me to sign, and he pulls out his checkbook and he writes me a check for $200,000, right?
Yeah.
And at the time, that was all the money I'd ever seen in my life, right?
Yeah.
And he wrote it out of his normal checkbook, and I thought to myself, and I said to him, I'm like, hey man, I thought you'd have like a cashier's check, right? And this is like a whirlwind. This is like 3 days of my life. That's right? So he closes his checkbook, gives me the check, and he says, tell you what, son, you take that check to the bank tomorrow morning. You keep the contract. If that check clears, you bring me the contract at my hotel. Fair? And I was like, okay. So I was first guy in line the next morning at the bank. He tells me, they tell me, yeah, the check will clear. I deposited it, took him the thing, and I was it. I was out 3 days time. And within another week of that, I called my brother. My brother's been in the construction business for, since my dad and my brother have been around construction my whole life. Mm-hmm. I was the one that was the black sheep and tried to do something else, right? So finally I said, yeah, I guess it's my calling. I'll just get in construction. I called my brother and I said, hey, I need a job in construction. Do you know anybody down in Tampa or down in Florida, anywhere? And he said, yeah, I'll get you in contact with somebody. So he put me in contact with somebody at a national builder. I interviewed over the phone. They flew me down for the interview. They hired me on the spot. So within a week time of me, that thought popped in my head, I need to get out of the pizza. I was out. Dang. And that's, if anybody ever asks, that's the fastest anything has ever happened in my life. Right.
Yeah. That's crazy.
Yeah. It was pretty quick. And then I was gone.
I did not get out that quickly. That easily. I think one of the hardest things about that business is, well, number one, when you yourself are 25 years old, and all your employees are 16 to 20 years old, you're like barely older than them. Yeah. And I think that you have a tendency to like want to be their buddy. Yep. And want to be friends and not be a hard ass, right? And so I was telling you a while ago, like I think if I did that business again today, it would be more successful because I understand business in general better now, right? But holding people accountable and all that kind of stuff. But I was trying to be buddies with all my employees all the time. And so if somebody couldn't make it in or somebody screwed up, oh, that's okay, I got it for you, Or they like some money would go missing, and everybody would kind of play dumb, like, oh, who took the money?
Yeah.
Oh, all right, guys. Okay, well, let's make sure that doesn't happen again.
Yeah. And another thing is I would read these back then. I would read these articles and these books about how to motivate staff, how to motivate your team. But it was all written for teams, employees that cared, right? I'm not saying nobody in the restaurant business cares, but how do you motivate a career-minded person? Right? We were trying to motivate guys that didn't care. I mean, you tell them like, "Hey, I'm going to fire you next time." They're like, "That's okay. My dad pays my bills anyway."
They're either a college student,
Yeah,
or they're a stoner,
right,
or they're just somebody who's honestly probably not going anywhere.
Yeah, that was the toughest spot for me, is trying to motivate that team. Right. Now I have a great team working for me, and these are guys. Some of them are older than me, some of them are younger than me, but they're all career minded. They're all driven. So motivate those guys. They're accepting of it, right? They want to hear your advice, or how to be better at their career, how to be better in our business.
Yeah.
So for me, I always say when I got out of the pizza business or the restaurant business, I'll say, and into construction, it's very comforting that when I leave, when the job site shuts down tonight, it's closed. Right, it's not still going at 1 o'clock in the morning, so you get a little bit of respite to collect yourself. You still always have business on your mind, but at least you don't have two things pulling at you: the open store and the business pulling at you. Right?
Yeah. You're not worried about what that 16-year-old kid's doing at 12 o'clock at night with your property.
Yeah, you have guys that are motivated and that have your best interest in mind. Right. So construction is a great business for that. And the other part of construction that I've really enjoyed is now that we're doing it, right, I can look back on all the houses I built. I can drive by them still and look at them like, I remember that one. I did that. I still look at pictures of them. It's like it's your photo album. It's of your life, right? But you got paid to do it.
Yeah.
So that's the cool part of it.
Yeah, I love driving around neighborhoods with my kids, and there's a couple of neighborhoods where we've done a lot of work and driving around, and I built that, I remodeled that one. It's cool just being able to have something that's tangible proof that that was my work.
Yeah, and you attach it to a time in your life too, like, oh, that was 2017 to 19, so you can remember what I was doing and how old you. It's cool.
So when I sold my place, it wasn't that overnight, that smooth transition, right? Like, we had to post an ad with a business broker, and it took a while, and then I had to stay on and help train the staff, train the new owner and all that kind of stuff. So I wish my transition was that easy, right? But I got out, and my uncle that I'm really close to was in the construction real estate business. He was mostly like flipping houses and doing like small remodeling projects for people. And I was like, I don't know what I want to do. And he said, well, just come hang out with me, maybe get your real estate license. You can help me, buy and sell properties I'm flipping. You can hang around the job sites and learn what's going on. And so I just started doing that with him for a while. And then I was like, oh, this isn't that hard. I can do this on my own.
Yeah.
And so kind of started off doing the same thing, flipping some houses, small remodeling projects, and just kind of got bigger and bigger and bigger until where we are today. But I also kind of a family connection for sliding into the business, So after you moved back to Florida and we're working for like a national production builder, how did you progress through that and end up out in Cali?
Yeah, it's funny. Fear is an excellent motivator, right? So when I got out of the pizza business, I felt pretty fortunate to get out of there with my skin, right? And I think I was 30, right? When you're 30, you think 30 is old, right? So I thought, this is my last chance at life. The pizza business didn't go the way I thought it would, so this is my chance to make it. And so I started working for that national builder, and I was just terrified that I was going to not do well. And I think all of my physical effort and all of my mental effort went into being successful. And I mentioned earlier to you that I think construction just suits me, right? The way my brain works, I think so I very quickly, because of motivation, a little bit of motivation, a lot of fear, I put all that effort in, and I quickly rose up at being a good builder. Right, I was organized. I didn't complain. I just kept my head down and I worked as hard as I could. And production builders, it's very easy to tell how you rank with them because they have what's called production tracking reports. They will list how efficient you are as a builder, and they track that by how fast you're building houses, right? Because they know this house, this model should take, based on their experience, they've built them before, this model should take 93 days. If you're building them consistently in 89 days, well, that makes them happy, right? And they can track that. That's a quantitative tracking. And they would rank the builders on this production tracking report of the entire city of Tampa for this builder. This is our fastest builder, and also they'd factor in, here was speed on the spreadsheet. Here was speed, and here was quality assurance, right? Customer satisfaction. And they would rank you on this. Mm-hmm. And I got up to where I was consistently in the top 3, top 5. And that was all because it wasn't because I'm super smart or super whatever, just because I was freaking terrified, right? So that's
my last chance. I have to succeed.
This is it. And so I did that, and then I did that for like 2 years, and I got recruited by another builder in town that was kind of semi-custom. They did nicer stuff. And that was, I would look at their houses and I would think like, oh, those are really, I want to build those houses. And so I took that job and did that until the 2008 market crash for that other builder. And then when the 2008 market crash happened, I mean, the writing's on the wall. You're thinking the company I was working for, they kept shrinking staff. And they went all the way. They went from 30 guys in my position to 3, and I was one of the last 3. And I was building this community in North Tampa, super cool community. It's like one of those neo-traditional, kind of look like Truman Show kind of thing. And I was working there, and I'd finished my last house, and there's no more houses to build, right? So shortly thereafter, I get a call for, hey, can you come meet us in the office and bring your radio with you and your computer? So what's coming. So I got laid off. They were very generous. They gave me 6 months severance. Dang. And then I had to get a job working in commercial for a little while, which you go from building homes for people and families to doing the reclaimed water piping at a county park. It's not as sexy. It's not as fun. So I was doing that, and my brother was out in California, and he said, hey, why don't you come out here and build these big giant houses out here? And I got to tell you, it was very intimidating. I didn't want to. I didn't want to go build 30,000 square foot houses for ultra rich people in a state that I'd never been to, or I'd been there, never lived in, never wanted to live in, right? But I mean, when you're doing something you don't really want to do, and there's no light at the end of the tunnel, I thought, okay, I'll have to take this step. I have to walk through that door, and so I went out in California in October of 2009, so 16 years ago.
Man,
yeah.
Big difference between building 2,500 square foot production houses in Florida to building 20,000 square foot luxury homes on the side of a cliff and looking over the ocean in California.
Yeah. So, when I first got out there, I flew out for the interview, got the job. We got the new project that I was going to be on, and I was put on as lead superintendent. And there was a 35,000 square foot house with an additional guest house, a cistern, 100,000 gallon cistern, a tunnel that went from the garages into the house. Massive project, estate style project in Montecito. And I had no idea what I was doing. The biggest thing I'd ever built before that was like 5,000 square foot house, right? Yeah. 6,000 square foot. And I had no idea what I was doing. And for the first year I was out there, I was kind of faking it, like subcontractors would ask me questions and I didn't know the answer.
What do you think?
Yeah, exactly. What do you think we ought to do? What do you think? And the whole term fake it till you make it. I did that for a year. And then I finally started getting my feet under me and figuring things out. And that was a long time ago now.
Man. And it's funny because you were doing that, and we kind of lost. I don't think we lost touch. We talked like occasionally, right? But we weren't talking all the time,
right?
But I don't think that either one of us knew that we were both kind of doing the same thing at the same time.
Yeah, for a long time, I just thought you were doing real estate.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I had my real estate license, and at first that was kind of like the main thing I was doing. I was just kind of building on the side. But I was, real estate's okay. But I enjoyed the kind of the making something, right? Like, real estate felt a little too transactional, and I felt like creating things and just being creative.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's kind of the musician, artistic side of me. Just likes to be creative. Doing some design, because when you're doing small projects, you can also kind of do a lot of design.
Yeah.
But just being creative and just and making something, like we were saying, something that you can point to and say that I built that.
Yeah.
So yeah, I started off real estate, mostly a little construction, and the two kind of flip-flopped to where I was doing almost no real estate, almost all construction. Eventually I just kind of dropped the whole real estate thing. But anyway, we stayed in touch, but we weren't talking a lot for a number of years. And we were talking one day on the phone, and you mentioned something about that you were working with an owner's rep. And and I was like, what's an owner's rep? What's that?
Yeah.
And you were like, oh, it's when the owner who can't be either on site or doesn't have the time to deal with it hires somebody to kind of take their place to manage the project for him. I'm just like, a builder. No, not a builder. He's somebody he runs the builder.
Yeah.
He runs the builder. He runs the architect. He watches out for the owner's interest, right? And I remember thinking that's a really cool concept. Like I'd never heard of that. So I was intrigued by that, and it kind of at the same time that was happening, my construction business here had kind of grown to the point where a lot of architects in town knew that we knew what we were doing, and they would call me with like problem projects, like, hey, we've got this client who hired a builder that doesn't know what he's doing. The house is falling apart. Can you come in and help? Right. And so I was getting a lot of those types of phone calls. And so I was like, you know what? I think Houston needs like that kind of owner's rep type service. I started asking around, and everybody was like, yeah, no one does that here. I'd never heard of that. Right.
Right.
And so I kind of saw a market opportunity to start doing that. And that's how Shepherd Construction Advisors, this podcast, all that stuff kind of came out of that. So basically I'm giving you all the credit for this podcast.
Oh, thanks. I'm waiting for my first royalty check. Right.
Me too.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, it was you kind of mentioning that concept to me that that kind of made me, it kind of sparked the idea to do Shepherd. And I think it's something that's it's in this market, it's actually really a hard sell.
Yeah.
Because people don't think they need it until it's too late and they figure out they need it, right?
Right.
So I know like in Los Angeles, and I've heard like Chicago, New York, some of the major cities, large affluent populations, it's a lot more common. Mm-hmm. But here in Houston, you just don't see that many owners reps, and it's still a hard sell. So anyway, you've worked with a lot of owners reps. You've done some owners rep stuff yourself too, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
What in your opinion, like what is the big value of the owner's rep and their role?
I'm a firm believer if you hire the right builder the first time, and maybe the right builder comes with some added cost, but I think if you hire the right builder to begin with, the owner's rep is less needed, right? But owners reps do serve a good purpose of being a good liaison between the owner and the builder, right? Because even if you have a builder that's a good builder, builders don't speak the same language as an owner, right? So it's only the really good builders that can translate and assuage their fear. Because when somebody's building their house, they don't know what to do. It's like if you take your car to the mechanic, he'll go, oh, you got a bad flux capacitor or whatever in your car. You have no idea.
You're just trusting them, right?
Yeah, you just trusted them, right? So you'd have to just blindly say, oh, okay, go ahead and fix it. So that's where an owner's rep comes in to explain that in terms that you can explain the process in terms you can understand and be your advocate with the builder. So I've worked with owners reps a lot, and I think sometimes they can be a great asset, and sometimes they can be a burden, right?
Yeah.
It depends on the owner's rep. The owner's rep is only, is only as good as they are, right? Which kind of circle reference, but anyway, if they're good for the project. If they're only watching, the other thing that I think about with owner's reps is if they're only watching the budget, which typically is what happens, they're not really watching out for the whole project. The budget is only one part of the project, right? There's quality, there's permitting, there's getting all the consultants on board, kind of managing the entire team. The builder is just one part of that, right? So there's the builder, architect, consultants, like I told you earlier, deputy inspections, right? It's a whole team of people that the owner's rep should be able to manage. But if the owner's rep is only focused on the budget of the builder, they're missing that whole other aspect of the process.
Yeah, I mean, I tell people that the point of the owner's rep is to be able to capture the owner's vision and make sure it gets executed. I mean, part of that is budget, but part of that is what are the owner's goals for the project, right? Like, what's the most important thing to the owner? Is it speed? Is it schedule? Is it budget? Is it quality? Is it all those things? But like having your finger on the pulse of what's important to the owner and letting that be your focus, really.
Yeah.
And also be an advisor to the owner, to where if they're complaining about budget, if the owner's complaining about budget, be like, yes, but you said this was important to you, and that costs money, so you're going to have to spend money on that, right?
Yeah.
It's being a sounding board for the owner as well,
and spending money where the owner wants to spend money, right? The owner might not care about one thing, and you're spending money on it, but does care about the other thing, and you've already spent your money over here, so you can't spend on the. So it's good for the owner's rep to be able to do that as well.
Yeah. I wanted to talk about what you're doing right now. So after you moved to California, working with your brother, you guys worked together for a while, and then you went off on your own and started Costa, right?
Yeah.
What is your current focus with Costa? What types of projects do you like to do?
It's different for the dollar amounts that I'll quote here are different for every city, right? But I've done projects that are $30 million construction cost. That was 10 years ago, right? So that'd probably be 40, 50 million now, right? I've done projects like that, and I've done projects that started out $500,000, right? So there's a I say a bell-shaped curve where there's a sweet spot that I like to be in, and that's about $3 to $10 million. And $3 to $10 million in Southern California is maybe a 3,000 to 7,000 square foot house, right? And when you're building a 3,000 to 7,000 square foot house, you're probably building it for a family, right? You're probably building it for a guy, and a guy and a girl. You're gonna talk to that you're gonna talk to that owner, right? You build a 30,000 square foot house, you never talk to the owner. Owner is probably a businessman, a celebrity, whatever.
They have a team.
They have a team of people.
It.
Yeah. And you sit around a table with 15 consultants. You never talk to the owner, and you're just, like I've mentioned, that whole team. You're just one small part of that of that team.
It's like that commercial construction that you're talking about, right?
So you lose a little bit of the thrill of it, right? Because it's just like you're kind of just like an order taker, and that's not any fun. That's not why I didn't just get into business. I got into business because I like to build things, right? I don't want to just sit there and look at spreadsheets at a conference table, right? So the 3,000 to 7,000 square foot house, maybe 3 million to 10 million in construction cost. Then I'm talking to the owner. They call me on my phone, and we have a relationship. We can talk things through a lot quicker than we can through a committee of people. A lot of times, like I said, a lot of times I'm building it for a family, so that's really it's kind of a romantic thought.
More satisfaction in that.
Yeah, there's some satisfaction that you're like, somebody's going to raise their kids here, somebody's going to have Christmas dinners here, that kind of thing. Instead of just like, this is just some massive project.
One of 10 houses for this guy.
Yeah, one of 10 houses. It's just his party palace or whatever, or even worse, he's doing it on spec and he's gonna sell it for $50 million. And so there's no emotion around that. There's no feel for it.
Yeah.
So long story. I like to stay in that realm where it's for real people.
Yeah, which is funny that $3 to $10 million price point in Southern California is probably like 1 to 3 million,
Yeah.
1 to 4 million here, here in Houston. You know,
exactly.
Cost of construction and cost of living and all that kind of thing, right?
Right.
So I wanted to chat a little bit about what you think, and because this is something I've been talking a lot about recently. I had another guest on recently named Aaron Stetzer, and we talked about this some. What's the difference in building, what makes building a luxury home different than building either not even a production home, but like a, let's say a modest home, right?
Mm-hmm.
So maybe in your market, what's the difference between building a $1 million house and a luxury home, a $10 million house? So for me, what's the difference between building 800,000 and 3 million, right?
Mm-hmm.
What makes luxury home building different, more difficult, special skills are required, all that kind of stuff?
Yeah. So for, obviously there's the finishes, right? In a normal everyday house that somebody's going to live in, they might have GE appliances. They maybe even KitchenAid, and that appliance package would be $10,000 to $12,000, right? But if in a ultra high end residence, you're going to have a appliance package that's, Miele or Gaggenau, and that could be $150,000 appliance package. So there's, then there's like the interior doors. They could be an off-the-shelf prepackaged door that's already manufactured in a factory, or a custom door, right? So that runs through the whole process, right? I mean, through the whole construction. Upgraded finishes cost more money just inherently, right? But then on the execution of it, where you get everything to line up, like in houses that we build, everything is flush from inside to outside. And even that transition, like in the house I live in, the house you live in, house almost everybody lives in, when you're outside, you step up 4 inches to walk into the house.
Mm-hmm.
In the houses we build, the exterior is the same as the interior, and there's a track that's flush as well. So you walk out, if you're wearing, I don't wear high heels, but if women wear high heels,
I mean, not today.
Right, not today. You're not going to trip on, right? So it's a flush. So to make that behind the scenes, there's a lot of technology and a lot of execution, and a lot of time to get that detail to work, so you don't get water in your house, right? So, or even like on the side of a patio, like a balcony, right? Like 95% of all the houses, the water, when it rains, is going to hit that deck. It's going to hit the tile. It's going to run off, hit a piece of drip edge, and it's going to drip down. In an ultra high end residence, we're going to stop that water from falling off the side. We're going to put a drain, a hidden drain behind that, so you can't see it. You're not going to step in it. It doesn't have a big grate, and we're going to channel that water off into the not into the building, but into the wall, and it's going to exit the site underground. You're never going to see it. That's the kind of thing. That's not a fit and finish, but that is an execution that costs quite a bit of money.
And there's that times 1,000 decisions or executions.
Yeah, I mentioned 2. There's everything you can think of, even installing an HVAC in HVAC goes in the attic. The air handler goes in the attic, and we put those on isolators. We put them in areas that they're going to be silent. We don't even want to hear the air coming out of the, because we want to have a variable speed and it ramps up. So we have a vent big enough to where if you're laying in bed, you certainly, the base minimum, you don't want to hear the machine running, right? The equipment running. But we don't even want to hear the airflow coming out of the vent. You don't want to hear that, right? So that's a lot of technology and a lot of execution just to pull that off, right? And then, the other things that don't cost money, that is good execution, is making sure everything's laid out to where, one of the pet peeves that I always see is you have let's say a 4 or 5 inch wide piece of casing, and it comes across, and there's a countertop that's notched into it, right? Yeah. Well, to plan that out before you built everything, and to say, okay, look, we got to move this door over. We got to move this cabinet over a little bit so we can have that. You have the cabinet in, the overhang, a little bit of space, and then this casing. If you know that beforehand and you lay it out, to lay it out costs no more money.
Right.
Right. To do it wrong and then rip it out and redo it, that costs money.
Yeah.
Right. So sometimes good execution doesn't cost any more money.
Yeah.
And sometimes in the previous examples, it does cost a lot more money.
It's just a lot more foresight that's involved in every single step of the way.
Yeah.
It's it's not off the shelf stuff that you're dealing with generally, but then it's also like thinking through all the way, like how's it going to be installed, always keeping in mind what the finished product is going to look like.
Mm-hmm.
Right. I think that people just order something and they're like, oh yeah, that'll fit in there. Right.
Yeah.
Right. And then they get it on site. They're like, oh, well, this isn't quite going to fit. I guess I have to notch the casing now. Right.
Yeah.
And, it's fine. Nobody will notice. Right.
Yeah.
Whereas past a certain price point, people care about that.
Yes. Yeah. And I always say it's a good executed house. You can't really point to one thing. It's the culmination of, it's like the synergy of all the things coming together where people just walk in and go, something about this house feels nicer. This is a well executed house. Right. And they might not have that thought. Well, I would have that thought. You would have that thought. We walk in, we go, yeah, this place is put together pretty well. Right. Other people, lay people, right, that don't know about what it takes to coordinate all that, they just walk in and go, this is a really nice house, right? That's
just
the
a feeling.
I just feel it. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Aside from the quality end of things, what sets apart somebody who succeeds in the luxury market?
In the building?
Yeah. Construction aside, quality control aside, what does it take on the customer side, and the behind the scenes side?
I would say, obviously, you have to be organized. We're in a task oriented business, right? We work off lists, we work off deadlines, and so first of all, you have to be really organized. But I would think the main thing from talking to clients is you just have to do what you say you're going to do, right? So I've heard I'm the king of takeover jobs. Like you were talking earlier, like you've taken over some. I take over quite a few jobs because I'll price them, I'll bid them. You're too expensive. We're going to go with the cheaper guy. Or we're going to go with the cheaper guy, and then they call me back a few months, a year later. This is a disaster. Can you come help us? And the one complaint I hear consistently from people is they just didn't do what they said they're going to. They said this and they did the opposite. They didn't. You know. So I think that it really erodes trust in clients, and so they can't have a good experience if they don't trust you, and if you're not doing what you said you're going to do.
Yeah.
You know?
I think a lot of contractors try to slide into that market because first of all, I think everyone just naturally overestimates their capabilities.
Sure.
I mean, when I was young, I definitely tried to do stuff that I wasn't qualified for. Fake it till you make it. I'll figure this out, right?
Yeah.
A lot of people do that. I think that a lot of contractors have this idea that doing these big, expensive, sexy projects is the pinnacle. It's what they should be doing, right?
Yeah.
But a lot of these guys try to slide into that space and they fail because organizational skills, they don't have maybe the subcontractor or the trade base that's able to execute it. Mm-hmm. They don't have the people skills that are required, mm-hmm. right? The communication skills. So for a lot of people, like the big sexy projects are not they're not always good projects. Just because it's big and sexy does not mean it's a good project.
Yeah, that's what
right?
I was just saying. Yeah.
I mean, even for people who do this kind of stuff, there's certain ones you look at and you're like, you know what, that's not worth the hassle.
Yeah.
That
one's going to kill me. You're right.
I mean, you can make a better margin a lot of times building something that's scale wise more middle of the road, right? Mm-hmm. Sleep better at night, not worry about getting sued, all those things, right? But there's just something about that big, shiny architectural digest type project that just draws them in like moths to a flame. Like, got to do that, right?
I was just saying that the other day. I was saying, I've done plenty of those projects, more than I have published. in my past. And part of me, I don't want to do them again. If somebody offered me one, I would be like, nah, I've done that. I'm over it. But the other part of me is what you were just talking about. I'm like, I should be doing those. I should have my projects on the cover of AD again, you know? But I just don't know if I want to do that anymore. I mean, not that I'm giving up on life or anything, but I'm just having more fun now, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah. It's more rewarding doing the projects that I'm doing now.
Yeah.
And I kind of think it's a benefit to the clients I have now because I have the experience of doing that, and I'm putting that experience into their projects, which the other competitors bidding their projects aren't bringing that level of sophistication to their project.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Another thing that I was going to say when you were talking about, I think when some contractors make their life harder than it needs to be, right? They do things in a way that just, like I was just saying yesterday to a potential client. He asked me do I have to have a superintendent on the site all time, full time? And I said, yeah, I do. I said, because I just feel that that's the best path for success for your project. That one guy, it's a big enough project. It needs that level of care. And I said, somebody else will bid it and they'll say, no, you don't need it. But I do not do business that way. I'm not going to say that. I want the guy there all the time. He's thinking, not 24/7, but he's more than the business hours. He's thinking about your project and how to make it successful. Not just like that's one of a few, right? And the other smaller projects, you can do that, right?
Mm-hmm.
But you get a large project. This is a 14,000 square foot project,
Yeah.
right? It needs one, probably two people on that thing full time. And that's, I took over a project just recently, and just the level, I mean, the work was fine, but it was going too slow. And the builder that we replaced was running around all the time, like putting a lot of effort in, but just not getting the reward because he was doing, I felt he was doing things the hard way. Right. And a lot of times I think guys like that will work themselves into a frenzy and lose sight of like, this business it's pretty fun. I mean, it should be pretty fun. It's not real complicated. I mean, it can be, but if you keep it streamlined, keep it simple, it's a lot more fun.
So do you not want to do any of those the big high end projects anymore? Are you kind of committed to focusing on this, on the kind of the,
yeah, I mean,
I'll say more mid range type of stuff. Although it's mid-range. It's kind of hard to say $3 to $10 million is mid range.
Right. Yeah, if a really sexy project came along, or when they do, I do say, like, I'm bidding one right now that is far bigger than I'd want it. It's 30,000 square feet, and I'm putting a budget together for it. But it's a really special project. It's really, architecturally, it's really great. And I haven't done one in a while, so I thought, yeah, this looks like a good one.
Yeah. My focus is more on like what's a fun project, meaning like it's not just a run of the mill.
Yeah.
Oh, I've done this 100 times. Like, what's something that has a unique feature, or what plays to the strengths of my team. So I took you by job site this morning actually, and I've got a great carpentry team. So how can I use my carpentry team to really make this house shine using my guys, right?
Right.
And not just bring in whoever to do the carpentry. How can I involve my team and make this something really special, right?
Yeah, especially if you have a team that's available and you want to keep your guys busy, right? You might take a job like that just in the thought like, hey, this might not be the perfect project at another time, but right now it's perfect because I can keep these guys busy, and this is a perfect job for your cabinet or carpentry team or whatever.
Yeah. I just like to do fun, unique things and not just kind of the run of the mill, you know.
Yeah. I say to clients all the time that this should be fun, right? Not fun like we're clowns and we're goofing off, but fun like building your own house is the American dream, right? It's what a lot of people dream of, is like actually designing and building the house that they're going to live in, right? And not just buying one, and not just moving into an apartment or whatever, right? Actually building a custom house should be fun. And it can be, I think that's the core focus, that we want the whole process to be fun. And it can be if you're organized, if you do what you say you're going to do, you're hiring good subs, you got good people on staff, you're keeping your client informed, right? I say those are the key things, right? And if all those come together, then yeah, it should be fun. And you're all backslapping and happy with it at the end, right? Because it is a long process. I mean, we said before, 2 years, 1 year, 2 years. I've built projects for 4 years, right? And if you can get to an end of a project after 4 years and the client still likes you, that's a win.
Yeah.
And vice versa, right? So it's I always kind of equate it to, longer projects go, the more difficult it is to maintain that relationship.
Absolutely.
And I always say it's kind of like having your family in town for Thanksgiving. First day, everybody gets there, everybody, yeah, great. By day after Thanksgiving, you're like, all right, get out of my house. Right? I love you, Dad, but you got to go, right?
To kind of wrap this up, I wanted to ask kind of a generic question, but put you on the spot here. You've touched on this a little bit, but why do we do this work beyond the paycheck, the fortune and glory?
Yeah.
Remember Indiana Jones, Fortune and Glory?
No.
You don't? Okay. Fortune and Glory, kid. Fortune and Glory.
All right.
Anyway, you have to watch it.
Yeah.
So beyond the fortune and glory.
Yeah.
Why do we do this? Why do you do this?
I did touch on a little bit. I think it's the whole romanticism of like, this is where somebody's going to live, and even if they're not going to raise their family there, it's where they're going to live. They're going to have good memories there. They're going to, where we live is very personal, right? Where we do business, like, we're sitting in a office right now where we go to office, we go to shopping malls. None of those are personal, right? Even hotels aren't really personal. But where you call home, that's very personal. And it matters to people, right? And so that, and then coupled with the fact that I'm a firm believer that's my why. The why I do business is, I think this segment should have somebody in it that's creating or building houses for people. And when they get to the end of it, they said they had fun, right? So that's, every really successful company has a why. Like Apple, their why was Steve Jobs thought that everybody should be able to afford a computer on their desk, right? And at the time he did it, it was a big mainframe in an office somewhere, right? Mm-hmm. Southwest Airlines, their why was, we think everybody should be able to fly at the price it would take, like a bus, right?
Yeah. Because
at the time they came out in the early 70s, airline travel was only for the rich, right? And they thought, both those guys thought the same thing, right? Everyday people should be able to have this, right? And so, I mean, any successful company is going to have a very strong why. But I think our why is, why do we do business? Is because I want people to be able to have fun doing this, right? And it can be.
That's awesome. I think my why is along those lines. It's similar. It's more like helping people, guiding people to make good decisions, and to not see them get taken advantage of.
Right.
So
that's a good one.
Helping people in general, which kind of ties into for sure the owner's rep thing, the shepherd thing.
Yeah.
Because that's what I focus on, is helping people not get screwed in a construction project, right? But with with building, it's helping them make good choices, and just being like someone who's trustworthy, who they can trust will take their money, spend it wisely. It's a good investment for them. They're not throwing their money, throwing good money after bad, right?
Yeah.
We're being a trustworthy partner to help them bring their dream to reality.
Yeah. I say all the time, we should be good stewards of our clients' money, right?
Absolutely.
And we should tell them, like, hey, you're wasting money here, or sometimes it doesn't look like we're good stewards of their money when we're telling them to spend more money here. Like, right. I tell clients all the time, I said, I don't mean to sound flippant, but you should not try to save money on waterproofing, right?
Right.
Because it'll come back. You'll pay for it later,
Yeah. last thing, what have you learned over your career? I make this sound like we're having like a retirement party here. What have you learned over your career now that you're heading to the grave? No,
Yeah.
no. What? I guess across businesses, from pizza to working for production homes to doing your own thing, like what have you learned over the years?
Two things. You got to be organized, and nobody's coming to save you. Right. So I remember when I asked my uncle one time, the part of nobody's coming to save you, it's when I had the pizza business. And I asked my uncle, who was a successful entrepreneur, very, very successful entrepreneur. And I asked him, I was like, how did you get your business to go? How did you make sure it was successful? And he said, I didn't have a choice. Nobody come to save me. I had to eat, and my kids had to eat. So that, you got to have that mindset. You're flying out on your own. There's nobody coming to save you.
Yeah.
Right. And organization helps with that. You got to be organized.
Yeah.
Yeah. What about you?
I think I've learned that I originally thought I was going to be a teacher when I was in college, or musician or teacher, but I started off as a music education major.
Yeah.
My mom was a teacher.
Right.
I always thought that I was going to be in the education side of things. Totally moved away from that. Right. But as I've been in this for a while, and I've grown, I kind of feel like I've come full circle. And now, like, I enjoy being a teacher. I enjoy being a coach. I enjoy, again, helping people. But I feel like I've kind of found myself pulled back in that direction, between, like the podcast, my builder coaching that I do, all that kind of stuff. I feel like I love educating people, right? Yeah. And so I guess kind of the big picture story to that is, number one, never stop. This sounds like a cliche. Never stop learning. Like, there's always, as you grow through life, as you go through different careers, there's always ways to learn and grow. Yeah. But also, always try to find an opportunity to be a coach, be a teacher, and help bring other people along, make a difference that way.
That sounds way better than what I said.
All right. Could you ever have dreamed 26 years ago or whatever it was that we'd be doing
28 years ago? No.
28 years ago doing a podcast in Houston, Texas about construction?
No, we talked about hanging on the beach after all our pizza wealth came in.
That's right.
Yeah. We're still here, though.
All right. Well, I appreciate you being here. I really value your friendship over the years. It's been fun, kind of seeing the parallel journey, and it's always fun to have somebody to talk to, who's been going through the same things, has had a similar path, and you're a great resource. You're a great friend.
Appreciate that.
Love you, man.
Yeah, love you too, buddy.
All right. Well, the Love Fest is over. Thanks for joining us on the Your Project Shepherd podcast. Appreciate you tuning in. Be sure, if you're in California and want to talk to Chris about building a home, check him out at CostaCustomHomes.com. Yeah. And or it's Costa _US
yes.
On Instagram, right?
Yeah.
Cool. Look him up if you're in California.
All right.
All right. Thanks, y'all. See you later.
Thanks.
If you found value in this episode of Your Project Shepherd podcast, please consider leaving us a review and sharing it with your friends. That helps us expand our reach and bring this content to more people. Thanks for being here.